Good morning and welcome back to the Now Morning Show, where it is Tobago Tuesdays. And this morning, joining us via Zoom, ACP Collis Hazel will be talking to us about the dynamics of crime in Tobago. Good morning and welcome, ACP Hazel.
Hi, good morning to you and good morning to all your viewers on this beautiful station on the Now program.
We are glad to have you because, as disparaging as the statistics are, we know up to last night, unfortunately, the number of deaths related to murder in Tobago, rather, has climbed. And so the conversation is a very necessary one. Can we begin, though, backtracking a little bit? Because we would have had former ACP Garfield Moore calling for tougher tactics and a new approach on crime in Tobago. Before you respond to his claim, first off, could you describe to us the current tactics that are being used to battle crime in Tobago?
Okay, first of all, I would want to take this opportunity to say to the Trinidad and Tobago public that at this point in time, we await the autopsy report of the bodies that were found last night in Mariah. And based on our investigation, we cannot at this point in time classify those deaths as murders. And we await on the scientific report that will help us to give us the determination of whatever was the outcome and the cause of death, since based on our finding last night, the bodies bore no mark of violence, and there was nothing to indicate in terms of a foul play from our assessment. So we await that outcome.
Fair. Granted, though, that it still means that we have quite a significant number, record-breaking for Tobago in any event. There is, of course, some sort of strategy, some formula that is currently being used. Could you give us a little insight on how you and your teams are approaching thus far the crime situation in Tobago?
Okay, well, first of all, I want to say that the Tobago police is working assiduously in its operations in order to deal with crime and violence on the island. The officers have been working relentlessly in doing all different types of policing strategies in order to ensure that we bring crime to a level in which we will be comfortable. However, at this point in time, we are experiencing an increase in murders as a serious crime. However, our serious crimes have not increased as it relates to comparative years as it go we at this point in time. I must say that crime fighting is a dynamic way of bringing success. It is not static, and therefore, no one fit is going to be the end it all in order to bring a solution to crime and criminality. And we have been using the various approaches of intelligence-led policing. We have utilized our patrols, basically on land. We have used our coastal patrols. We have been utilizing our fight in terms of community policing. We have been utilizing all types of strategies, which at some point in time, do if you do, damn if you don't, that the public will not want to hear us. And in terms of our intelligence, we will not want to be able to be telling the public ever so often what are our strategies that are utilized in terms of fighting crime. We are fighting crime in a situation now where we are encountering gang violence, and therefore we have been preparing and training our officers in order to treat with this new type of violence that has lent itself down on the Tobago community.
ACP, I want to interject a little bit to confirm first off then, because we have numbers. We not including the two that occurred last night, we're at 13. And I wanted to confirm, from my understanding, Yvonne, is it absolute that all 13 of these murders have been linked to gang activity?
No, so we have had 12 of these murders that were committed by way of use of firearm. And we have had one domestic violence murder, which was solved, that was of a domestic violence nature.
Okay, understood. Now, you mentioned that you are using multiple tactics. As you rightfully explained, it is a multi-pronged approach to a dynamic challenge. You did, however, announce after the 13th murder, I believe it was, the establishment of a unit to deal specifically with these sorts of gang-related crimes. This morning, you're describing the use of intelligence and a few other tactics, including even collaboration with what seems to be the Coast Guard and Marine officials, is what you were describing. Are these part of that identified gang being, that identified unit? These are specifically going to be utilized in this newly established unit towards that gang warfare approach that you were mentioning earlier?
Now, one has to understand that Tobago is separated from Trinidad by sea, and clearly we have to deal with border issues here. Our borders are porous. There's no if or maybe about that. And therefore, we don't manufacture firearms and ammunitions. Right. And therefore, this is the trend has shown that the turf for gang warfare has been fighting over the years as a result of drugs and money. And the use of illegal firearms is the weapon that is utilized. Therefore, our attack has to focus our attention clearly in ensuring that our legal and illegal ports are secured in order to fight this menace on society. Okay. And it is with that in mind that closer attention has to be paid in terms of from all arms of national security in order to ensure that safety is brought to the public of Trinidad and Tobago. In this vein, we have been utilizing all these areas with the resources that are available to us in order to ensure that we can man the situation here in Tobago. We are not going to be sitting calm and lay back and allow the perpetrators of these crimes to take the upper hand of us. Certainly that is not our call. Right. And we continue to evaluate after each incident to examine where we may have fallen short, what other strategies that we can utilize in order to treat with the situation and as it unfolds. Right. However, crime, as I mentioned, has to be taken from a multi-pronged approach. There's no one fix in order to treat with this situation.
Agreed, ACP. And one of those things that you mentioned briefly was community policing. Could you give me a little insight as to how you plan to utilize that, or at least some descriptions? Are we talking about citizens' arrests? Are we talking about hotlines that the citizens are getting involved in more reporting? What does that actually look like?
Okay, so let me just share with you in terms of when I speak community policing, I talk about sensitizing and educating our stakeholders as to how they can get involved in helping the police. One of what we have recently noticed a while ago as we go after the perpetrators of these crimes is the fact that we have had situations where CCTV cameras are available to everyone. Each citizen in Trinidad and Tobago has a device at their home, which is a phone. And therefore, the connectivity between these devices is not while the gangs are using their guns to fight. We have a device that we all can use to help us, to help to create that safety to us. We were offered the opportunity where the government gave us the opportunity where there was a reduction in terms of the costs on shipping and duties taken off of cameras and those devices. It is important for us now in terms of our education drive and our community sensitization drive, we engage in our stakeholders, that we go out and we continue to advise persons when we see what we call low picking fruits as it relates to minimum security threats to persons' home and their businesses. We advise them in terms of what they can utilize in order to better help them. And therefore, we have gone ahead on some crime scenes and noted that it would have been so much helpful to the police when this camera is working, or even the neighbor's camera is working, so that we can be able to utilize, the law now allows us to utilize the footages of those devices that we can use in order to bring persons, the perpetrators, to justice. And therefore, at this point in time, a special clarion call is appealing to the persons throughout Tobago. If you want to buy yourself a New Year gift, it is important that at this point in time that you purchase some CCTV cameras and strategically align them on your premises so that we can be able to, it can be it's a fighting tool that can help the police in its crime fighting strategies, because we can't be everywhere. It is all the time. And therefore, it is devices like these who would, in situations where we can now afford ourselves to know if a fly moves in terms of its motion, it is picked up. We have internet access, and therefore it can be shown even on our phones. So we are asking the citizens to utilize, to help us, to walk that road with us so that they can help us to police their community. And this is one of the approaches that I would want to recommend that we make ourselves, arm ourselves with. Because we have seen in the last 2 double murders, as we continue relentlessly to work in terms of fighting crime in these areas, that there were instances, had these cameras were working, certainly that person or persons would have been captured already.
Well, ACP, let's talk about some of those captures or some of those resolutions, because we know last year Tobago saw a solve rate, or rather that was from 2020 to 22, not just last year, that you saw a solve rate of 100% on the murders. What are the statistics to date? Could you share any updates with us as to what the resolutions look like now, or resolves look like now?
At this point in time, we are 40% in terms of the solvency rate as it relates to the murders that have taken place thus far.
When we talk about being solved, as in someone has been captured, charged, and is awaiting trial, how far along are we talking?
Awaiting trial, so that the person have the investigation has concluded, where the matter is now before addressing the courts.
So granted that a big part of that success has to do with the judicial system, the next part of things, the training, the units that you're putting in place, and those sorts of specifics are what we may be seeing changes coming to. I want to ask, when you talked about specialized units, soldiers and, sorry, not soldiers, but policemen who are trained specifically to deal with gang warfare, I wondered if these persons were going to be Tobago natives. Would they be more experienced Trinidadian natives? Are we looking at a combination? When we talk about these members of the newly formed unit that you mentioned is already functioning, can you give us some details there?
Okay, so I want to put it on record that the Trinidad and Tobago Police Service function as one organization. There will not be no disparity as it relates to Tobago officers or Trinidad officers. We are one Trinidad and Tobago TTPS, which we all love. And officers can come from anywhere, any part of Trinidad and Tobago, a sworn officer to work at any jurisdiction throughout Trinidad and Tobago. May I say to you, last year around this time now, I was the ACP in charge of Port of Spain, where we had no murders. Check the records. So therefore, we can work anywhere. So it doesn't matter where you reside, on whatever island, we are Trinidad and Tobago Police Service. Our training will encapsulate a training that will provide that knowledge, skills, and operational tactics in order to treat with these issues of which is new to Tobago in terms of that level of gang violence. And it has started, it is ongoing, and it is going to be rolled on. We will be introducing in February here on the island the GRACE program, which is as a program has been rolled out in Trinidad, and it's going to be coming to Tobago as well in order to sensitize our communities. And it is not only for police officers, it is for a wide group of stakeholders, which will provide us support, lend us that support in terms of how we are able to treat with this new stem of violence on a best fit approach.
Thank you very much. I have one final question for you this morning, because in a recently published newspaper article, former ACP Garfield Moore claimed, specifically when it came to Tobagonian police, that they were not giving it or rather, they didn't want to go hard on Tobagonians. And I'm quoting the article because he said folks believed that it may be their family. Now, that's a very bold claim because it outright speaks to persons favoring their families and putting aside actual justice and policing. What do you say to that?
Okay, so I would want to say, first of all, that I will not be one of the persons who would want to offer a comment as it relates to the personal issues of my former colleagues who held this office. I am very professional and I stand resolute in terms of dealing with issues and not on personalities. However, what I do share is the fact that the Tobago, at this point in time, we've been utilizing all strategies in terms of ensuring that we are able to deal with perpetrators of crime. Tobago, at this point in time, have police officers from both Trinidad and Tobago serving the jurisdiction. And if anyone has any information in which they have not been treated properly by any police officers, my doors are open. There is no appointment to see me. The public comes to my office daily or reach me on the phone or reach me even on my home in order to entreat with issues. And therefore, I ask of them to reach out to my office for any matter that has not been addressed. And quite certainly, we would ensure that everybody is served as according to our oath of office.
Beautiful. ACP, thank you very much for your time and your insight, for your dedication, and we wish you a very good morning.
Certainly, same to you as well. And we do take this opportunity to wish all of Trinidad and Tobago continue to enjoy the Christmas season. And as we look forward to a safe and productive 2024, we ask and we entreat of all of you to ensure that you continue to be safe, continue to be vigilant, continue to observe your surroundings, continue to exercise caution, be calm and firm, continue to be resilient, work with the police, continue to support the TTPS as we fight harmoniously and together in fighting this stem of crime and criminality that seems to prevail around us at this point in time. May God continue to bless us all as a nation.
Complimentary season to you too. Guys, we're taking a break. After this, we've got more here on the Now Morning Show.